That's where Benton's Farm comes in. This is a sheltered workshop, and many former residents of South Ockendon Hospital come here each day. They work on a number of different projects, including the craft workshops, where baskets and dried flowers are made, and the gardening group, which manages local allotments and undertakes gardening work for local health organisations. Pat Padwick has been the manager here at Benton's Farm since it opened in 1991.
I have worked with the clients within the Health Authority for 23 years now. I know quite a lot of them and they know me. And the whole team here, the emphasis is that they're not people with learning disabilities, they are people.
And we've been watching some of the people who are working on the building site at the back. What exactly are they doing out there?
Well, that's a very, very exciting project as far as we're concerned, because it's work that people with learning disabilities have never tackled before, and we were successful in getting a joint finance planning application fund, and they've actually knocked down the old building that was there, and the people that work in the gardening and building group are actually building their own carpentry workshop.
Many of the goods produced at Benton's Farm are sold in the farm shop, which is a treasure trove of wonderful presents for Christmas or other special occasions. Benton's Farm now sells a remarkable £18,000 worth of goods a year. The former residents of South Ockendon Hospital still get together to assess how things are going for them in the community.
He has a friend called Trevor who takes him out in the car and they go and buy some chips, and he has milkshakes and things.
At this meeting, held at a hotel near South Ockendon, hospital staff, working with John Hertzhoff of the National Development Team, try to assess how former hospital residents are getting on at their new homes within the community.
Thank you for telling us that. That's important, because other people might feel the same as you and haven't thought about that yet if they haven't been to see where they live. So that's an important thing that Jackie said.
As the hospital moved towards closure, staff made a supreme effort to ensure that the standards of care for residents at South Ockendon were maintained and, wherever possible, were actually improved.
Most hospitals, as they begin to close, they tend to let things slide. The hospital deteriorates, the fabric deteriorates, training stops, all the various things that are essential to the life of a hospital begins to run down, and people already think of the hospital as closing. What we wanted to do was, well, to go out with a bang or to run up towards closure, to continue to have improvements within the hospital, to make sure that everybody knew that the quality of the fabric of the hospital, the grounds, but also of individuals' lives and the training for staff would continue to improve right until the very last day.
The hospital grounds were tended and cared for, and as the closure of the hospital approached, there were plenty of celebrations, like this 1930s-style garden party. As more residents moved out into the community, large amounts of space became available, and this meant that War Child, a charity that sends aid to Bosnia, was able to set up a storage base at South Ockendon Hospital. Gifts from the public were unpacked and checked here before being repacked in aid parcels that were wrapped and then shipped off to Bosnia.
I started doing this a year and a half ago and needed somewhere to actually base some sort of warehousing facility. Having noticed that this hospital was actually closing and a lot of the buildings were going derelict, I thought of asking the director here whether he'd let me have a building to use, and he did kindly let me have a building across the road from here, which was a smaller building for the operation, which we did manage to run successfully. Since then, we've grown up a little bit into a bigger operation, and they've accommodated and given us a bigger building, which is a great help, because obviously with the expense of us having to fork out for a warehouse facility, we're just channeling that money straight back into the relief effort. So really it's saving lives all the way along the line.
And the Bosnian debt of gratitude was repaid in the most remarkable fashion. Refugees who left Bosnia and came to Britain ended up working at South Ockendon.
Smile, ostay tu have one please.
They turned their hands to painting and decorating. They worked on the hospital grounds. They even helped prepare the main hall for the Valentine's Day party. And what a party it was. Indeed, in the last few weeks, South Ockendon sometimes seemed to echo to the sounds of one long party. There was Christmas, Valentine's Day, and the big end of an era party just a few days before closure. One of the people who was due to receive a very special presentation at the end of an era party was 83-year-old Louise Padwick, who was one of the 5 original female nurses employed at South Ockendon Hospital in 1932. She was unwell on the big day, and her presentation was received instead by her daughter-in-law, Pat Padwick, who is now the manager at Benton's Farm. Sadly, Louise Padwick died just 2 days before the hospital closed. Extended family connections at South Ockendon were not unusual.
It was quite normal. I worked here. My mother worked here before me. My father came and worked here, and there was also another family's a main one, which was the Dexters. Their father was one of the deputy chief male nurses. He had 3 sons working here on different villas. The daughter was working here, and I think even the mother was working part-time. That was normal routine. There was lots of families working here.
Over the years, a number of residents at South Ockendon peacefully ended their days here and were buried within the hospital grounds. As a memorial to these residents and a permanent reminder that a great hospital once stood on this site, a garden of remembrance was created next to the hospital chapel. Shortly before the hospital closed, there was a moving dedication service attended by local mayors, church leaders and other dignitaries.
And that is that the hospital symbolised to so many in the community and in the wider community too, that we live in a community, a civilization, where everybody counts and where everybody matters.
And so, from commemoration to celebration, and what Mark O'Callaghan described as the Big Bang, the final goodbye and a firework display to remember. The celebrations went on late into the night, and on the stroke of 12, a memorable contribution from a lone piper. On the 31st of March 1994, exactly as planned, it was time for the very last resident to leave South Ockendon Hospital. Janice Slavin received a special presentation and the hospital was finally closed. For over 60 years, South Ockendon had made a valuable and caring contribution to the communities of Essex and East London. For the last residents here, it was time to move on. So what was Mark O'Callaghan's message to them?
To wish them the best of success in the community, to make sure that they themselves take a part in their lives and take control of their lives, so that it's not about the hospital in the past saying what they should do, but they're now in the community, they're citizens of the community, and they have every right to say what should happen to them. I think that's the biggest message, is take control of your lives and enjoy yourselves.